Whether or not you believe the paranormal is true, ghost stories are a fun way to learn true history. In this video, I'll share an excerpt from my travel guide to historic haunted places called Paranormal Texas.
The stars of night are big and bright in Paranormal Texas.
Today, we're headed to the Doll House Museum in Granbury, Texas. It's a really cool museum, and yes, it's haunted. The Granbury Doll Museum has over 2,500 dolls from all around the world. These dolls are on display throughout a two-story historic home that, when you think about it, kind of looks like a great big doll house. It's located in a neighborhood. Now, this unique museum was founded by two sisters named Jane Sharp and Barbara Williams. It really is a labor of love. These gals love dolls. They use the top floor of the house as a doll hospital. I love that idea. And that's where the women painstakingly restore these historic playthings. Oftentimes people donate them. It's kind of sad. So it's like someone will pass away and maybe they collected dolls, or there's some special dolls in the family, and when there's no descendant who wants to take these special dolls, Jane and Barbara are willing to take them in and rehabilitate them and put them on display in their wonderful museum. A walk through the Granbury Doll House reveals everything from mass-produced Barbies and G.I. Joes to really special handcrafted, one-of-a-kind pieces from famous doll makers, and also from complete unknown people, just someone who made a special doll for a loved one. They really have a variety. But when you walk into the house, one thing I like about it is they've set it up so that when you turn right, you'll see the oldest dolls first. So you'll see little corn husk dolls and dolls that young girls who might have grown up in Granbury back in the 1800s would have played with. And then they just let the dolls evolve throughout the decades, and they have the history of them as they go along. So as you walk through the dollhouse, the dolls become increasingly more modern. One of the most unique exhibits is a 1922 Dolly Rekord doll. I asked the gal who was showing us around, Vicky, she's a volunteer there, I asked her, "What's your favorite doll?" And she said, "Aha, I will show you." And she showed us this Dolly Rekord doll. They keep it under lock and key. It's really historic. And this doll contains a wax cylinder that was created by Thomas Edison. And so it's one of the first, well, really, it's the first ever talking doll. Here's a little video, and you can hear the talking doll, the Dolly Rekord doll, for yourself.
Miniature version.
I'm filming this right now, so this is a Dolly Rekord, and it's a
Record, 1922.
1922, and she has a little Victrola inside her. Vicky here at the Doll Museum in Granbury is telling us about it. This is an amazing doll. You do not see something like here. I'll to the side so we can. She says nursery rhymes, this doll. Wow. We asked Vicky her favorite doll. I can see why.
Old Mother Hubbard went to the cupboard to get her doggy a bone.
Does it work?
Locks in the cylinder and puts the needle on the
Now, the first time I visited the Granbury Doll House Museum, I had a couple guys with me, and I wasn't even sure how interesting the place was going to be. I'm not a big doll collector. I did collect a Little Women doll when I was a kid. You could probably guess which one. I wanted to be a writer, so I had a Joe doll when I was a kid. But, I had some Barbies here and there, but I don't know, I was quite a tomboy as well. So, like I said, I wasn't really sure, like, is this going to be very interesting? I thought it was worth checking out. I thought it might be a little prim or prissy or whatever. But guess what? We ended up staying 2 hours the very first time I was there. And like I was with my friend Greg, who's, ex-military. You wouldn't have thought, you wouldn't peg him for someone who'd be intrigued by this. And my husband, Larry, too. I mean, but whatever. Guess what? The history behind the dolls just sucks you in. The women there know so much about them, and they are really, really cool. Besides, I mean, I'm sure most men were little boys at one time, and they probably had an action figure or two, right? Even though we were there for a couple of hours, it took me, nearly that whole time until I finally mustered up the courage to ask if the sisters ever experienced paranormal activity at their house. I was a little nervous because, when you visit historic places, some people are kind of touchy about this. It really depends on their belief system. And, the last thing I wanted to do was make these women shove me out the door or roll their eyes at me. But as I said at the intro to this video, I do believe that when you learn a ghost story, really you're learning haunted history. You're learning history. If you look into what the truth behind it, which is what I've done in my book, Paranormal Texas, I don't just repeat what people have said they experienced. I go into the newspaper archives, I go to the sites, I try to find the history behind this story. I think it really makes it that much richer. And if you experience a ghost while you're there, or what you would deem paranormal activity, then that's just icing on the cake. So, when I finally got the guts up and I asked them I didn't even have to complete my sentence. I was kind of hemming and hawing and, couching it with all sorts of phrases. And the ladies just interrupt me. They started laughing and they told me, oh yeah, the Granbury doll, honey, are you trying to ask if it's haunted? I'm like, yeah, busted. And they just laughed at me and said, the Granbury Doll House has its share of spirits. Now I would, press them. At this point, I'm like, okay, give me the details. So they went on to explain that not only do the Pirates of the Caribbean figures rearrange themselves on the shelf, but they often find some of them on the floor. They told me it's like they've been fighting. I thought that was really cute. Another weird thing that I found interesting is they said it has to do with the second floor light up in their doll hospital. Now, even when they know they have turned it off and they are leaving for the night, that light will turn back on. So that's interesting. So I kind of jokingly said, hey, maybe one of the dolls is afraid of the dark. And they were like, hey, you might just be onto something there. So a few months later, I got to go back to the Granbury Doll House and take part in a paranormal investigation that was led by Greg Stevens' group, TX, or RIP, Texas RIP. They had a command center outside, and then the inside, they turned off the air conditioning. And oh my gosh, it was such a hot day. I mean, we were just dripping with sweat. I think you can see how shiny my face is in this photo. I was having a good time, but wow, it was hot. But Greg's very serious when he does these, and they didn't want the air conditioning on, making noises that we couldn't account for. What was so weird was, while we were walking through the house at one point, this actually happened a few times, I thought, oh, hey, maybe someone turned on the air conditioning because I suddenly felt a pocket of ice cold air. That was really interesting. Now, none of us detected anything sinister in the Granbury Doll House, but they did, TX RIP, they did get some anomalies on their videos. And I also asked my friend Teal Gray. She also writes books, and she is a medium, a psychic medium. So she said she was detecting some activity there, and she said there was nothing malevolent, but that the highest concentration of energy, this is a quote, was located near the stairs and the rooms to each side of the kitchen. She also said there's a mischievous boy doll on top of the refrigerator who was really delighted that we were there. And her psychic impressions overall, she said the spirits are very happy with Barbara and Jane running the museum. So whether or not you believe in ghosts, I think you need to take a trip to the Granbury Doll House. Now, if you want to know if the museum is open, The best way to know is to drive by, and if they've got an American flag hanging out, that means it's open. Now, admission is free, but I highly suggest that you leave a donation. You can leave donations, but they won't turn you away if you don't have money. But I mean, this is a labor of love, and it's really well worth kicking in some money so they can keep going. And their normal operating hours, they're usually open from 10 in the morning until 4 in the afternoon on weekends. But like I said, just check for that American flag and then you'll know. And here's their address. It's 421 Bridge Street, Granbury, Texas. And it is right in the middle of a historic neighborhood. So it's not in the main town square there, but in a really cool neighborhood. You'll really like it if you go there. And if you do go there, let me know what you think. I had a lot of fun. And I think you will too.
So read my book if you dare look in Paranormal Texas. Pack your grip, let's take a trip